Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Oh. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5, and I believe it is episode number 895, but I could be wrong, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada. Always 100% Canadian and always beaverific. Today, recording day is Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, and it is another beautiful day here at the Beaver Lodge. Very light blue sky with a very, very, very big fluffy cloud outside the window. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, he, Mr. Beaver A. And not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and cubs, how is your mental health doing today? I am doing rather well, I have to say. I did something yesterday. First reason I'm in a good mood is because today's a tennis day. I've got a tennis match scheduled for 11 o'clock this morning. I would say first tennis of the year, except for the fact that I did get to play once indoors in January, just before I left for my lovely, wonderful, and totally relaxing vacation to Mexico. um so technically second tennis of the year, but first tennis of the season, playing against that guy who's really good and seems to just always know what's going to happen next. But I've got a couple of new tricks to try, so we'll see how it works out. It's kind of weird also having the new tricks to try the first match you're playing, because I'm every now and then you start a season and it's just like, you never left off and everything's right there, and then there's a couple every now and then it takes you a little while to get back in the swing of it. So uh, trying my new tricks when the arm isn't even warmed up yet is going to be interesting. Let's see what happens. But yeah, that's what I'm going in with a plan, and I'm going in with a strategy today. So we'll see how it works out. But the other reason I am happy today and I'm in a good mood is because yesterday I did something. I didn't know if I wanted to do another show. I'm There's part of me that feels tired and feels like, I should just take a summer off, you know. uh, but there's I saw this audition come up for this little show, which is it is a musical, but it's simply a one act. So it's not this 2-hour thing. It's like about like 40 minutes or something. And we have something here that's called a one act festival, and the winner of the one act festival gets to go to the Eastern Ontario Drama League Festival, which is essentially, for all intents and purpose, theater camp for adult theater nerds and geeks. Um, so I had a blast, and I want to go back. That's one of the reasons. And we're also the show will also be playing as part of our Fringe Festival here in the month of August. So we'll get to do it about 9 or 10 times in the space of about 10 days, and for local audiences, but we get a lot of tourism in the summer because in our region we're sort of the biggest city, so there's a lot of smaller towns around us that come into our city, and and take in the French festival and all of that kind of stuff. So it'll be it would be a fun opportunity. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to audition, and even yesterday, the auditions were at 6 p.m., and even like around 4, I was like, we'll see, because I was feeling tired. But my Beaver sweetie wanted to audition as well, and he typically does not audition for things that are not uh, classical music or operatic, or the, if not, well, operatic, yeah, I guess you could say that. Like even like let's say Rodgers and Hammerstein, no, not Rodgers, Gilbert and Sullivan, operettas, and that type of stuff, because his voice sort of goes to that, the sounds and the roundedness or whatever, or the clarity that's needed for that. Whereas, I have a lower voice, and well, not lower voice, but I guess a smokier voice, right? There's nothing that comes out of my mouth when I'm singing or talking that sounds clear like a bell. Everything's always muffled in a little bit of cotton or something. So, hey, we all have our voices and our styles. So yeah, we went to the audition together, and that was fun. And then after that, we went out to eat together, because my favorite restaurant in the whole city, which is a restaurant that actually started in our curling club. We have a catering area, and then the lovely lady who runs it opened up her own restaurant with her own footprint, and it is working very well for her. And she's expanded, and it just turns out, just so happens, that there's this little hut, one block down and 2 blocks the other way from where I am. When I got there, was sort of like a pizza and burger place, and then it turned into something like a fryway, and she's taken it over. So my favorite restaurant, the food from my favorite restaurant in town, is literally now a 4-minute walk away from where I actually live, rather than clear across the other part of town. And the owner and I are very, very, very good friends. So, yeah, and like I said, I have a sense for things. I don't know if I will get it, but I had a very good audition. So I have reason to be hopeful. I have reason to be hopeful. My song went very well. I did my warm ups from when the times I get to sing in the choir. Every now and then I don't, because I'm doing other shows, and that's my first love. But when I don't have one, I go sing in the choir, and I've recorded some of the vocal warm ups. So I did a lot of that yesterday before going. And when I opened my mouth and I started to sing, oh my word, I felt like I could. Let's just say I felt like I could do anything, because I picked a song that was in a good range for me, and a good for my voice. I didn't try to overreach, because often I want to show range, but this one I just wanted to deliver a solid performance beginning to end, and show that I had some control. And oh my god, I even had like a swell at one moment that I was able to take out on cue, and I was like making eye contact, and I was able to emote, and you know acted up a little bit, and I was like, "Oh my god!" It's like I'm like rocking this, and they're looking at me and they're smiling, and I seem to have picked a song that connected emotionally with them because there was a lot of oh at the lyrics. So it's like I don't know, and the reading seemed to go well, so fingers crossed, fingers crossed. And hopefully, uh, there's 8 rolls, so hopefully, my sweetie gets one, too, if I do get one, and, we can do this together because it would be fun to do something together. So keep your fingers crossed, for both of us, kids and cubs. But yeah, I might have a project this summer. I got Linda. God, I hope I get it. But I hope I get it. How many people does he need? There we go. Your news and politics with a side of jazz hands. Mm. Ah, my word. So yeah, I'm in a good mood. I've been having, uh, you know, with me, right? All the bad stuff comes and it all comes in one clump and it lands all at once, like during the vacation. But the good stuff comes in a clump and it all comes at once too. And I think I might be in a good pass right now. You know, that, curling event went well and, you know, uh, audition went well, and I wasn't even sure if I wanted to go before I went, and they knocked it out of the park. I prepared as if I would, but I just didn't know, but it was fun. Yay. Okay, so let's get into it, kids and cubs. First program announcement, today at, 3 PM, I'm gonna come back online and, go live for the spring economic update. It's so weird to say that. I'm so used to saying fall. But the spring economic update will be, I think, released at 4 o'clock Eastern time today by the finance minister. And along with that, we are going to get some additional information about the sovereign wealth fund announcement that the prime minister made yesterday. I'm getting the feeling from all of this together. There was also a feel good video from Francois Philippe Champagne on the Sunday that came out that I just thought about now. So I didn't actually load up the clip, but I might be able to find that. When you layer all of those things together, you clearly get the vibe that relative to forecasts, what is going to be in this spring economic update will be that which the government of the day considers to be good news and intends to spin as such. Of course, you have the leader of the opposition already trying to get ahead of that, doing what he does from his place of utter and total irrelevance. At this point, until such time as we're getting close to another election, if he's still the leader at the time, pretty much everything out of his mouth is me, 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 me. I mean, for the utility it is going to serve in terms of moving things along in the public discourse if he continues to go down this path of um, Mark Carney is an utter incompetent and everything he does is crap because he's a loser and whatever it is narrative that he's on at the moment that just have a lot of us going like, what the It's like, dude, just go into a room and work out your feelings, man. You're not coping well. You're not coping well, and doing this in public is not working out for you. Uh, but hey, he's going to do what he's going to do. That's the strategy. The strategy is to just keep on pumping out the negativity 24/7 about the prime minister, regardless of what is done, what is accomplished, what happens. Just negative, 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 negative. It's never fast enough. It's never good enough. It's never enough. And hopefully, at some point, when the shine wears off, as it eventually does in politics, uh, if he can outlast whatever pressure is coming from the inside, he'll be there and to say, "Well, how do you like me now?" That's essentially the plan. Be nothing, say nothing but negative things. Be unhelpful and hope for the guy to screw up or for one of your predictions to come true, right? I mean, it's not very hard right now to go down that whole path that he had been doing with Justin Trudeau of, cost of living and printing money and inflation, blah, 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 and this and that and that. We all know with what's going on with Iran, we're going to that's going to work its way through the system at some point. We're a little lucky that it's happening as we're getting into the summer because we're importing less food, but this kind of stuff is going to take clearly a year at least, maybe even two to work its way all the way through. We are going to see this in the inflation rates at some point. This is going to affect cost of living at some point. At some point, 5, 6, 7 months down the road, if Pierre's still there, he's going to see, I was right. Well, of course you were right. We all know this is coming, right? Um, so we're going to have some good news, it would appear, coming from the government side. Uh, Government is Mark Carney had a press conference and already claiming that the result is uh, prudent fiscal management. Of course, that's what you would expect him to say, right? It said it was going to be $78 billion deficit, and it looks like it's going to come in at 64. It's like, how did you come in $14 billion less? Well, it's brutal fiscal management. Why not? Take credit. There might be a couple of other reasons at play as well, but yeah, uh, you know, uh, let's put it this way: it's 1 year today. I think that the election took place. So, and the war in Iran, was it? We're in the eighth week now, so I guess that started uh, maybe some point end of January, early February, that type of thing. So the Iran, any extra income or royalties or that kind of stuff from oil and gas revenue, there'd be maybe 2 months of that, right? In there, in that whatever is in that document, and if that document measures takes number, well, I hope it takes numbers up to today. I would assume it would take numbers up to today and wouldn't end at the end of last year, but we're going to have obviously some end of year numbers show up somewhere in that too. I would assume, uh, but if there is a better deficit number than planned, not all of that is going to be attributable to the increased royalties and the price of oil and gas. That's still somewhat relatively new with regard to this data that is coming in that is going to feed the information here. There may be, if they take numbers up to uh, as recent as possible, the last 2 months might include some of that, but the rest of that is the government's performance, essentially since you can look at it since he was elected in a general election to his seat, I guess, and then became prime minister. Or you can look from when he took the helm of the party, whichever metric you use, because there's not that much difference in time really for it to be statistically significant. Um, that's just the government operating as it was, right? Before any of this Iran stuff started happening and the economic factors from that. Um, that economic performance undershooting to the good, the deficit projection, could have to do with um, if there was some conservative ish budgeting, there may have been some bigger buffers included that weren't needed. It is true that the economy did perform better than was anticipated, so that will have something to do with it. Um, Perhaps on the cost cutting measures, they are further ahead of schedule than they expected to be at this time because they were particularly effective. If that is the case, then yes, you could put that one in the prudent fiscal management column, assuming that there are no ill side effects from having made these changes that need to be fixed later that end up costing more. Because sometimes that happens. But for the moment, since we can't know whether or not that will happen in the future, but yeah, you could give yourself a pat on the back for that legitimately in that case. But there could be a couple of other factors at play here. So, yes, we await this data. We kind of have an idea of where certain political parties may position themselves with regard to the numbers, particularly if there is, if you basically if we undershoot the deficit, with the conservatives, yeah, but it's still more than or still worse than this or still that, again, basically a variation on the not good enough theme, right? Doesn't matter if you're going in the right direction. If you haven't achieved the goal, all progress gets denigrated, right? And then when you achieve the goal, then you denigrate the way you got there, right? Right? When as a political party, the best way I can describe this is when as a political party you decide that let's imagine a world where every single politician wears glasses and they get to choose the color of their lenses. When you have a political party in which absolutely everyone, it would appear, within the party chooses the darkest tint lens possible and gets like 8 pairs, no variety. Right? You're entitled for the week because you get 7 pairs of the darkest lenses possible, and that's what you look through when you look at everything going on in the world and everyone else in the country who has ideas about how to move the country forward. Well, you get what the conservatives are putting out. That's you get what the conservatives are putting out, right? You have other parties that put on like some super rose-colored lenses, especially when they're talking about their successes or their plans. Sometimes you get some green tinted lenses. Pierre may have saved one of his 7 pair. It seems like he's got a green pair somewhere. There's a little bit of a envy and jealousy going on there. Just saying. It's been a little bitter. Just a little bitter. um, but yes, when you're determined before anything happens to put on the darkest lens possible, to interpret everything through the worst possible filter, you get the product that the conservatives put in. There's no success, no advancement, nothing can be celebrated because the full goal hasn't been achieved. And then once you achieve the full goal, either they did it the right way or the people that did it, even if they did it the right way, are somehow evil or corrupt or whatnot. And so you can't award them the victory, right? It always has to be diminished, devalued, denigrated uh, somehow, right? That's why we can't have nice things because there's a force within our country that keeps on saying, "Why are you even basically don't even try. Why are you even bothering trying? You just screw up everything up anyway. Right? It's back to the Canada's abusive boyfriend thing. Oh, liberals, why do you even try? All of you are corrupt and you never get anything done anyway. You're dumb, you're fat, you're lazy, nobody loves you. Just give up. Take it's dead. I'm the best you'll do. Right? It's that uh, that's I'm pretty sure that's why women hate it so much. It's that whole vibe there. Like I said, for everybody else, if they're not catching it from the female perspective, it's just icky. And then when you add the layer of smarm, somebody sent me another video of him making a joke and him getting the laughs and then turning around and taking a look and getting his pat on the back. It's like it's like it's like he oh my god. It's like he tells the joke and he looks back to the clapping and barking seals and the clapping and barking seals throw him the fish. That's that's how the Conservative Party today seems to work. Oh my god. I can't believe it. I was gonna say and the image just came to me. It's like, he's turning back looking for the fish. Oh my god. I'm not gonna be able to get that image out of my head now. Oh my god. Oh, okay. So, that's what the Conservatives are going to do. The NDP, um Mm, actually, with the NDP, it's kind of interesting to know because I don't know with Avi Lewis, right? He's a different type of NDPer. So, um, maybe something that if we have if we're undercutting the surplus, the projected deficit by that much, maybe we can afford uh, to take a couple, 1 or 2 of those billion, by which we undercut, uh, the projected deficit and put it back into the pockets of the Canadians who need it the most because they're suffering right now. That could be an avenue, right? Uh, not, not using 100% of it and saying, "Hey," right? Look how much better we're doing. Now our target is this, and saying, well, if you're doing that well, maybe we can afford to keep an extra billion or two of debt and help people who are suffering now. If this is the rate of progress that we're experiencing, and still make progress while helping at the same time. That would be an argument that could gain some traction because Pierre won't be talking about anything else but giving Canadians back their money pennies at the time if they happen to buy gas, right? um, so yeah, uh, so we'll have more about that this afternoon when that comes around. This morning, however, um, uh, there's some juiciness to talk about because there'd be drama. Uh, well, there'd be drama. There is underlying drama. The entry port to the drama, however, is actually an early moment of Canadians who make us proud, kits and cubs, because today we get to talk about good journalism, quality journalism. Uh, Journalism clearly having been in the news lately, not in the best light, uh, given the events in Washington, D.C., but parallel, kind of interesting, right? Like, if Canada and the United States were TV shows, basically, over the course of the weekend, the American TV show would have had the White House Correspondents Association dinner, and the criminal act that is alleged to have taken place, and um, was listening to a comment. Uh, Somebody had mentioned that there was somebody there in the audience who had been working on gun advocacy and made the note that everybody in that room just experienced what many U.S. School children experience on a totally unacceptable, at a totally unacceptable frequency. Um, so you have that. And meanwhile, in Canada, uh, on the Canada show, we have Globe and Mail reporter Carrie Tait being named Journalist of the Year by the National Newspaper Awards. This is a clue. Now, this is according to the Globe and Mail, for whom she writes. So they're tooting their own horn here. But Globe and Mail reporter Carrie Tait, whose dogged pursuit of a spending scandal in Alberta forced her to endure taunts by a cabinet minister and reputational attacks by self-described political fixer, has been named Journalist of the Year by the National Newspaper Awards. Ms. Tait also won in the politics category as the lead reporter for a team entry in the investigation category. The Globe won 8 categories at Friday night's awards, the most in total. Stories receiving recognition including a sustained series tracking how measles has made a comeback in Canada and for reporting from Syria. The Canadian Press won the second most awards with 4. Quote, "It was a thrilling evening and everyone at the Globe is delighted to have come out on top with a range of original and important work," Globe editor-in-chief David Walmsley said. Awarding Carrie Tait deservedly, yes. As Journalist of the Year, the judges rightly said Miss Tait did not retreat in the face of a campaign of intimidation and threat. That determination that the truth will come out is the essence of the Globe and Mail. Brave, independent journalism that stands alone. In citing Miss Tait's work, the NNA judges noted that her coverage of Alberta politics, quote, stood apart as a model of investigative rigor and personal fortitude. Quote, her reporting did more than chronicle events. It altered the province's political landscape, triggering real consequences and forcing accountability at the highest levels of government. And that, kids and cubs, absolutely and irrefutably and undeniably true. This is journalism that made a difference. And that is Carrie Tait right there. Much deserved. I doubt anyone who knows their business in journalism would. Let me put it this way: if this vote was not unanimous, I have no idea who else was on the list uh, this year. That's simple. She stood out that much. Ms. Tait is among a team of reporters who spent more than a year reporting on allegations of political interference tied to hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts awarded by the Alberta government to an Edmonton businessman, Sam Reich. The Globe's winning entry in the investigative category included work by Miss Tait, Tom Cardoso, Mark McKinnon, Stephanie Chambers, and Alana Smith. Get some cubs if you're looking for some journalists to follow. These might be some good ones. If you see some work by them, chances are it's probably quality. Premier Danielle Smith and her ministers have maintained that they did nothing wrong. The government dismissed a former health CEO who first raised the allegations as incompetent and suggested critics are simply opposed to health reform. The allegations have since prompted investigations by the RCMP, which executed search warrants last month, as we brought to you, including at Mr. Mauritius' company and the Alberta Auditor General. Aha, interesting. The NNA News release announcing the award winners noted that Miss Tait, quote, was subjected to sustained campaign of intimidation, including a lawsuit, stalking, surveillance, and harassment. Tait did not retreat, the judges said. Quote, she continued to report with discipline, precision, and restraint, navigating personal risk with a professionalism that has inspired colleagues across the profession. Reporters Nathan Vanderklip, Alana Smith, Grant Robertson, and Kelly Grant won the NNA for sustained news coverage for the Globe's work tracking how measles has made a comeback in Canada. The Globe's coverage included a story that brought readers to New Brunswick, Texas, and Thailand to trace the origins of the Canadian outbreak, as well as stories that looked at the link between falling vaccine rates and Canada's losing its elimination status for the disease. Globe International correspondent Mark McKinnon won for his reporting on Syria in the post Assad era. He spoke to Syrians about their futures, their anger over the new rulers, and continuing violence. Judges said the work offended important insights. Lindsay Jones and Patrick White won in the explanatory category for their in depth reporting on forever chemicals found in Newfoundland communities, but also in communities across the country. The work raised questions about why authorities hadn't done more to alert residents of the possible dangers. Judges described the piece as, quote, the epitome of exceptional explanatory journalism. Ottawa political columnist Shannon Proudfoot, yes, was awarded for her long feature on Mark Carney. The profile, judges said, avoided the risks of the mundane and obvious. Quote, Proudfoot's clear, evocative language and excellent analysis created a vivid portrait of the new prime minister. And kids and cubs, if you're wondering why the yes, I'm a very big fan of Shannon Proudfoot's work. She does excellent work and sustainably over a long time, consistently. So yeah, very, very happy about this one. And this one also makes me happy. Recent Order of Canada inductee, by the way, Michael D. Adder was recognized in the illustrated commentary category for his political drawings depicting the impact of the Trump presidency. Judges described it as, quote, truly memorable satire that felt fresh and provocative. Ah, good. That is also deserved. And if I remember correctly, I believe on the socials, I saw something from him on the weekend that's probably associated with this, uh, and stating something about how he sees uh, the his work, what it is needed. But he was also, I see, interviewed in Global. So maybe that's where the quote comes from. So I'm just going to go there because this is someone. Uh, oh, well, you know what? Even turns out that it is not a text article, but it's actually an audio visual clip from Global News. So while the commercial is playing, I'm going to load it up for you. And we're going to actually get a little bit of insight from Michael DeAdder himself. Um, but he's basically, you know, oh, wow. Okay. Actually, can't do that. I thought it was just a quick 2 or 3 minute thing, but it's actually, he got a full 15 minutes on the West Block. So, Kits and Cubs, I'm going to include a link here because if you happen to love good editorial cartoonists, uh, oh, I just noticed that when I typed the "Here we go," the "go" never actually got sent. So you just got waiting in anticipation with the "Here we," and the "go" never happened. I'm going to put the link here so that you can enjoy a conversation with Michael DeAdder. Maybe I never thought of this, but maybe I should reach out. And maybe I can get him on the show. It would be really interesting to speak to an editorial cartoonist. Just I very rarely ever see them give interviews, so I just had a feeling that maybe they didn't. They just let the work speak for themselves and didn't try to become the story. Uh, but then, when you become of the stature such that you that you win. It's not because you don't win it; it's not a competition. That you are awarded the Order of Canada or brought into the Order of Canada. Um, Perhaps in that case, uh, you know, one one can make an exception. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I can't seem to find the specific post of his at some point. It might be in his replies. But yeah, he was clearly uh, very, very. honored that he had won. And uh, I guess this is very, 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 very well deserved. There was uh, somebody on Twitter that said, with a Diatter, there's always an editorial cartoon that you can bring back to reflect today's situation. They always remind me of what happened in that time in history. He's a pretty talented individual. Couldn't put it couldn't put any better myself. Uh, Goes on to say here, the National Newspaper Awards said judges considered a total of 927 entries published in 2025 from 77 news organizations. The Nunatsiaq News won its first award for a section published in English, and Inuktitut. The work showcased the impact of the James Bay hydroelectric project, and judges said, quote, unflinchingly looked at one of the most complex Indigenous land claim settlements in Canada. The Canadian Press won Project of the Year for extensive coverage from the Ring of Fire in Northern Ontario. A CP photographer and reporter spent months producing a sweeping multimedia project exploring the issues, the landscape, and the people. Other winners included the Toronto Star and La Presse, each with 3 wins. 10 other publications each had a win. So, congratulations to Carrie Tait. Journalist of the Year is well, I mean, it's the highest honor, right? So yeah, um, and in this day and age where everybody is a publisher and everybody is a content producer, um, knowing number one that there is quality journalism out there, but knowing who they are and then giving them the support, right? Uh, Reading uh, their content, and it'd be more independent journalists, buying them a coffee from time to time, or just sharing their work, that type of stuff. It's very important, very important. Uh, Other winners in the arts and entertainment category, Sari Critchell of the Tyee for her essays on the escapist necessity of reality TV and nostalgia, for AI slop in the area of inconspicuous AI. Judges said these entries from the Tyee demonstrate arts reporting at its most incisive. Uh, the Joan Hollobon Award for beat reporting went to Terry Pender from the Waterloo Region Record for his tenacious ongoing coverage of the threats against the Waterloo Region water supply. Judges said Pender's reporting shows grit and perseverance, dedication by his newspaper, and the power of local journalism. The Stuart M. Robertson Award for Breaking News went to the Canadian Press for their responsive and compassionate coverage of the Lapu Lapu Street Festival attack in Vancouver. Judges praised the team for the swiftness of response and sustained commitment to offering clarity and compassion. In the business category, the winner was Marco Chown Ovid of the Toronto Star for his coverage of how Tesla exploited the federal government's electric vehicle rebate program and its impact on Canadian auto dealers. Judges said Ottawa's decision to reopen the program and reimburse auto dealers was due to the Star's persistent reporting. There you go. More journalism that made a difference there. In the For the Mary Ann Shad Carey Award for columns, the winner was Nigan Sinclair from the Winnipeg Free Press for columns on the death of Pope Francis, the gut punch of Thomas King's admission he was not Indigenous, and the power of Wab Kinu's comments on child pornography legislation. Judges said, quote, Sinclair asks questions that stay with the reader and invite reflection long after reading his column. That is actually rather true. That's a good way to put it when you're talking about his work. For digital storytelling, the winner was Nathan Pila of the Toronto Star for his portfolio of work on a wrong way police pursuit, heat risk and workers, and ways to make Toronto better. Judges described Pila as a storyteller who reimagines what digital storytelling can do, not just in service of journalism, but as journalism itself. The Claude Ryan Award for editorial writing went to Kennedy Gordon of the Prince George Citizen for editorials on funding for seniors programs, misinformation and NIMBYism, and the significance of funding local media. Judges said Gordon's work demonstrates why local newspapers are essential for democracy in Canada. Of course, we told you about the one for explanatory work. The award for feature photo went to Marie-France Coallier of Le Devoir for a photo from the agricultural fair at Expo Brome, an annual event in the Eastern Townships. Judges said the photographer found a beautifully lit moment in a challenging environment and transformed it into a wonderful feature photo. Huh. Well, let's see if we might not be able to quickly find it and see what it looks like. You never know. OK, this is Le Devoir, une photographe du Devoir récompensée. And maybe the photo will be included in the article. Let's just take a why would you write an article about someone who won a prize for a photo? Oh, okay, there it is. They put it in the headline. Okay. This one sort of has some artistic formatting around it, but you'll get it. I think I can understand clearly why this one won. It's a it's a sweet moment. It's at an agricultural fair, I guess, in Brome, Quebec, and it looks it's a young child with his hands on the side of the face or the head of a cow, and the cow's got its eyes closed and looks like it is very, very, very serene and happy. It looks like they're both having a moment of connection together. Ah, well, there you go. That's a lovely photo. I can see that. There was another uh, photo. It was an Ottawa journalist in another category. Um, one, I think, it was a world photo uh, prize. I'm going to look that up here, see if I can find it quickly. That just it jogged my memory, and I saw that. Yeah, there we go. It was an Ottawa wildlife photographer who earned a gold medal at the World Photographic Cup. It's Michelle Valberg, a photographer from Ottawa, took home a gold medal in the wildlife category at this year's World Photographic Cup in Iceland. Valberg's winning photo shows a mother polar bear and her cub standing on volcanic rock in Scoresby Sound in Greenland. They pause, noses lifted, catching the scent of another female who has wandered into their territory. The deep contrast between the bear's white fur and the dark basalt creates a powerful visual tension, a story of survival, instinct, and tenderness unfolding against one of the most dramatic on Earth. And since I have the photo here, I'm going to make it a little bigger. There you go. All right. And I will pop because it is absolutely beautiful photo. I'm glad I remembered it so that I could show it to you, kids and cubs, and it just kind of fits in with the theme today. And is it up? No, not yet. Okay, let's push the show button, and there it is, kids and cubs. So taken from a nice distance, and yeah, those two polar bears, the white on all that dark basalt rock. Just some people have a beautiful eye. They just catch stuff. It says the World Photographic Cup is an annual Olympic-style event in which teams of photographers represent their home country in the competition. Valberg's work also earned the, quote, Best in Nation award as Canada's highest-scoring image of the competition. To represent Canada here means a great deal to me, Valberg said in a statement. That moment was real and quiet. A mother, her cub, and something just out of frame. You feel the awareness, the instinct. That's what I look for. Valberg took home a gold medal at the World Photographic Cup in 2022 and was also named a member of the Order of Canada that year. So, wow. Can you imagine being a photographer and you win the World Photographic Cup not once, but twice. And you do it twice in the space of about 5 years. You must be really, really darn good at your craft. Um, wow. Uh, okay. Let's see what else. Ooh, whoopalay. I went down. uh, and not sure that I still have my original article anymore with regard to actual awards. Oh, yes, I do actually. There you go. For illustrated commentary, of course, that was Michael Deatter of the Globe and Mail. For innovation in journalism, Cody Gold or Go and Lucas Timmons of the Toronto Star won for their automated natural language search engine, which provided real-time writing data for all 343 ridings across Canada in the 2025 election. Judges said, quote, "The Star identified a genuinely underserved area of coverage and built something to address it." Interesting. Of course, Mark Norman Webster Award for International Reporting. We mentioned that. Mark McKinnon for his reporting on the new Syria. The George Brown Award for Investigations. That's the one that went to Carrie Tait and then the rest of the team. Tom Cardoso, Mark McKinnon, Stephanie Chambers, and Alana Smith for the coverage about the Alberta Health Authority, essentially. The Ecora Hind Award for local reporting went to Jenny Lamotte from Sudbury.com. The Sudbury.com has also done some good work. We've featured their stuff from time to time for her reporting on seniors left stranded in their homes by broken elevators and the landlords and city officials responsible for oversight. Judges praised it as journalism that serves the public good. I believe that was the whole Kirkland Lake bots thing when Pierre went up there, and then the whole that whole thing about that conference or something in a hotel in Sudbury that the conservatives were calling was a super were trying to claim was a swanky affair. Shannon Proudfoot, of course, the William Southern Award for long feature. News photo, Martin Tremblay of La Presse for his photo of a Hells Angel arrest on Montreal's South Shore. Judges said the composition effectively draws the viewer towards the police officers and the Hell Angels member defiantly uplifted face. It is a powerfully storytelling image. Oh, okay. Well, hey, let's see if we can't find that one too. And see what they are talking about here. Not sure if. Nope, that's not the. This one might be a little trickier to find, kids and cubs. All right, let's try one more thing. Nope, not coming up at all. All right, sorry, cubs, I can't bring you that one. I was hoping that I could, but I can't find that one. Of course, the photo store award went to Chris Young of the Canadian Press for a series from Moss Park with Love documenting the human side of safe consumption sites at the epicenter of Toronto's opioid crisis. Judges said the raw imagery captures the trauma of addiction with both compassion and love. And then Carrie Tait won specifically the John Wesley Defoe Award for Politics in terms of her coverage specifically of the and individually of the Alberta Health Services scandal. And then, of course, the John Hondrich Award for Project of the Year. That's the one we mentioned before, with Liam Casey and Christopher Kasparov Luna of the Canadian Press for their coverage of the Ring of Fire. The Bob Levin Award for Short Feature went to Simon Drouin of La Presse for his powerful piece on the final moments of his friend Pierre Follia, one of the most influential columnists in Quebec. Judges said Drouin's short, impactful piece unified readers through their shared love of Follia and the journalism he represented. Special topic for journalism in a language other than French and English. That's the one that went to the New Nazi News for their coverage of the James Bay hydroelectric project. And of course, the subsequent agreement between with the Inuit communities and the government of Quebec, I think. Um, it says here that judges praised the ambition of the project, which unfortunately looked at the impact of good and bad, one of the most complex Indigenous land claim settlements in Canada. And then the award for sports reporting went to Ariane Lacourcière and Olivier Jean Lapresse for their features on amateur sports in Norway, which boasts one of the highest ratios of Olympic medalists per capita in the world. Judges said the series demonstrates journalism's capacity to spark courageous and necessary national conversations. Sports Photo Award went to Daryl Dick of the Canadian Press for a celebration soccer photo from the Canadian Championships quarterfinal in Vancouver. Judges said the uniqueness of this composition pushed this photo over the edge. Hopefully, I will be able to find that for you later. Remember it as well. And let's see, what else did we have? And the final one, the Jeffrey Stevens Award for Sustained News Coverage, went to Nathan Vanderclip, Alana Smith, Grant Robertson, and Kelly Grant. We mentioned this one in the story for their extensive coverage tracking of how measles made a comeback in Canada. The judges said the series exemplifies public service journalism at its best, informing citizens, holding power to account, and contributing to the protection of public health. So there you go, celebrating some great journalists doing good work. Now, with regard to Carrie Tait having won, there are some developments in there, that story, that we haven't brought to you yet. And figured since we were talking about this and how it came about, that it might be a good opportunity at this time or a good occasion to bring you some updates. Full disclosure, kids and cubs, for those who might be a little newer to the show, there are two people that will be talked about in these articles at some point, David Wallace and James DeFiore, uh, who with whom um, we have worked together in the past. Um, we've had Mr. Wallace as a guest on our show in the past. We've done some work with Mr. DeFiore, having him as a guest on our show, appearing on shows that he's been on. We were part of the same network for a while. Mr. DeFiore and I were friends for a while. That no longer seems to be the case. Uh, so just wanted to put that up there. We try to deal with these issues delicately. Um, and But we don't want to shy away from them just because we had past association as well. Yes, it is awkward for me to be relaying some of these or some of this information, but it's the information, right? And we're facts first, so we are going to bring it up. Um, so let's see what we got here. Um, the award for Miss Tate came with an in-depth feature in the Globe and Mail, written by a fellow Globe and Mail journalist who is not part of any of the teams who won the award. Um, so that's sort of like the big part of all of this. But there have been a couple of things that happened in the lead up to it. One of them is that in January, at the end of January, there was a former AHS board member that sought a contempt ruling against a lawyer that was linked to her alleged harassment. This is according to Tu Tan Ha. And Tu Tan Ha is the person that wrote the big feature article that came out to coincide with Carrie Tait winning the award. But it says here that a former Alberta Health Authority board member is seeking to have an Edmonton lawyer held in contempt of court over allegations that he facilitated a campaign of intimidation related to a high-profile lawsuit against the provincial government. Sandy Edmonstone alleges in court documents that lawyer Brian Ward directed people to harass him last year through surveillance and a series of podcasts that attacked him and others connected to a wrongful dismissal lawsuit filed by the former CEO of the province's health authority. MH Ward previously represented Sam Raish, the owner of MH Care Medical, a company at the heart of the controversy over healthcare procurement that has roiled Alberta politics. Mr. Edmonstone alleges in a court application filed sometime in January that Mr. Ward engaged in, quote, conduct directed at a prospective witness, including insults, public disparagement, threats, surveillance, following, and the dissemination of slanderous or vitriolic statements. Mr. Ward didn't respond to a request for comment, nor did Scott Hutchinson, a lawyer for MH Care. The document contains allegations that have not been tested in court. The court actions are related to the firing of the former Alberta Health Services chief executive, Athana Metsalopoulos, in January of 2025. She alleges in a wrongful dismissal suit that she was sacked because she initiated an internal probe into the agency's procurement staff and their ties with Mr. Mauritius companies. Mr. Edmonstone previously said in an affidavit that he believes he was targeted because he supported Ms. Metsalopoulos and advised her to share her concerns with the RCMP and the Provincial Auditor General. Both the RCMP and Alberta's Auditor General are investigating the allegations. The court application notes that Mr. Edmonstone is a potential witness in Ms. Metsalopoulos' lawsuit against AHS and the Alberta government. Mr. Edmonstone is asking a judge to find Mr. Ward in contempt and to order him to disclose, quote, the identity of the person or persons on whose behalf they have been acting. Late last year, Mr. Edmonstone obtained an exceptional court order allowing the seizure of the electronic devices of two podcasters that he alleges were part of the campaign to intimidate him. During the execution of the seizure order at the home of one of the podcasters, David Wallace, court-appointed solicitors reported that Mr. Wallace told him that he was on retainer for Mr. Ward's law firm Park Law. The solicitors also reported that Mr. Ward told them his firm had retained the two podcasters, quote, on behalf of a third-party client. Given the comments from Mr. Ward and Mr. Wallace, it appears that Mr. Ward and his firm Park Law are some of the persons involved in directing or facilitating the campaign directed at Mr. Edmonstone, the latest application said. The application argues that solicitor-client privilege does not apply in this case. Quote, Mr. Ward and or Park Law was the client seeking Mr. Wallace's services. Such communication was not for the purpose of giving or receiving legal advice. Furthermore, the document says communications that direct improper conduct, such as harassment and intimidation, don't benefit from lawyer-client confidentiality. In his affidavit, Mr. Edmonstone alleges that he was covertly followed and photographed, and that afterward Mr. Wallace spread false rumors about him on podcasts and threatened to dig further into his life. This affidavit alleges that a cell phone number that disseminated surveillance pictures of Mr. Edmonstone also controlled an anonymous X account that was posting photos taken surreptitiously of Globe and Mail reporter Carrie Tait. The surveillance, right? The intimidation. Ms. Tait has reported on MH Care and Mr. Maurice. The now defunct X account disclosed her personal whereabouts and said it would expose her sources. A little aside here, also in the personal disclosure, there's actually a third podcaster involved in this story somehow with whom we also have an association, Nate Pike of the Breakdown Alberta, with whom we still have a very positive relationship, but he was sort of brought into this because he covers Alberta politics specifically. If you're not familiar with him, we've also had him as a guest on the show. He does exceptionally good work, very thorough, very well researched. He actually does we curate news. He actually does some journalism. This guy does citizen journalism the way the citizen journalism should be done if people try to hold themselves to actual journalistic standards, right? So yes, by doing what he does and people not liking it, he got dragged into it as well. This story. And the now defunct X account was called The Broke Down Alberta. Nate Pike's show and his team is called The Breakdown Alberta. So you can kind of see. It's sort of like a child going, not touching you, not touching you. I didn't call it the breakdown. I called it the broke down, not touching you. Type vibe going on there. Public records show that Mr. Ward has represented Mr. Maurice in past civil litigations, in real estate transactions, and in a dispute with Elections Alberta. Mr. Ward also represented Mr. Maurice in 2024 when he sent a letter to podcaster Nathan Pike, there you go, threatening legal actions if he continued to post content about the MH Care owner. In a reply to a previous Globe query this week that included questions about Mr. Ward's connection to MH Care, Mr. Hutchinson said that the company doesn't undertake or endorse unlawful or unethical conduct. Mr. Wallace has denied in past podcasts that he worked for Mr. Moraes, stating instead that he was employed by a law firm, which he didn't identify. A self-described political hitman, Mr. Wallace has acknowledged in his podcast that he has a criminal record. He said it was for driving repeatedly without a license. However, court files in Ontario show that he has convictions for threatening to cause bodily harm and for being at large before the expiration of his term of imprisonment. The application to cite Mr. Ward for contempt was filed the day before Mr. Edmonstone was cross-examined by Craig Alcock, a lawyer representing Mr. Wallace, and the other podcaster, James DeFiore. Mr. Alcock didn't respond to a request for comment. The application to cite Mr. Ward for contempt will be heard on February 17th. So that's what had happened back then. Forward to March 16th because we had brought to you some stories about some searches being executed by the RCMP in certain locations. And then there was more news that followed that, again by Tutanha. The podcasters at the center of the case asked for, of all of the story, asked for the case against them to be thrown out. It says that two podcasters who allegedly harassed a former director at Alberta's Health Authority are asking a judge to overturn an extraordinary court order that resulted in their computer and cell phone devices being searched. Sandy Edmonstone, a former member of the board of Alberta Health Services, obtained the court order in November. It authorized the search on electronic devices of the two podcasters, David Wallace and James DeFiore, who he alleged were part of an intimidation campaign against him. The two podcasters' lawyer, Craig Alcock, argued in a court brief that their verbal attacks and boasts about digging into Mr. Edmonstone's private life shouldn't be taken at face value. The brief argues that remarks from the podcasts are hearsay and not admissible. It says Mr. Edmonstone was wrong to, quote, be relying on comments from the respondents' podcasts for the truth of their content rather than for the simple fact that those statements were made. Mr. Alcock says in his brief that his client's freedom of speech as business podcast journalists was infringed upon by Mr. Edmonstone's court actions. Okay. In the court's submission filed March 11th, Mr. Alcock contends that Mr. Edmonstone provided no evidence that the pair conducted surveillance on him. In his podcast, Mr. Wallace had asserted that he would disseminate incriminating information about Mr. Edmonstone and warned that, quote, we're really going to start digging down and we're going to make it unbearable for you, end quote. Instead of searching the podcaster's device, Mr. Alcock's court's filing said Mr. Edmonstone should have sued them for defamation and used a less intrusive legal mechanism to gather evidence about them. The controversy began in early 2025 when the former head of Alberta Health Services, Athana Metsalopoulos, alleged in a wrongful dismissal suit that she had been fired by the government of Premier Danielle Smith after she declined to wind up in an internal investigation into the way AHS awarded contracts to private vendors. Mr. Edmonstone said in a court affidavit that he was harassed because he was vocal in his support of Miss Metsalopoulos and had urged her to speak to the RCMP and the Provincial Auditor General. The entire AHS board was dismissed at the end of January by the Smith government. Last November, Mr. Edmonstone turned to the Alberta King's Bench Justice Michael Lima, the judge managing the Metsalopoulos lawsuit. He persuaded Justice Lima to grant him a court order allowing independent solicitors to search the electronic records of Mr. Wallace and Mr. DeFiore in a bid to identify who could have directed them. Justice Lima also cited two podcasters for contempt of court because Mr. Edmonstone is a potential witness in Miss Metsalopoulos' litigation. The judge issued the citation for contempt and the search authorization known as an Anton Pillar order after an ex parte hearing, meaning it happened without the knowledge of the podcasters. Quote, while undoubtedly the contents of the posts and podcasts are unpleasant in the opinion of Mr. Edmonstone, they do not cause threat of immediate harm. They are not immediately prejudicial, and as such, they do not warrant the need for an ex parte application of order, Mr. Alcock's brief said. The document asks Justice Lima to nullify the orders he issued in November. Mr. Edmonstone's affidavit said he became aware in June 2025 that he was being followed when someone covertly photographed him while he lunched with a woman and disseminated the pictures, falsely accusing him of adultery. The affidavit said that Mr. Edmonstone discovered that the cell phone that shared photos of him was the contact number for an anonymous X account that had posted similar surveillance shots of Globe and Mail reporter Carrie Tait and threatened to expose her sources. Meanwhile, Mr. Wallace, a self-described political hitman, used podcasts to direct reputational attacks at Mr. Edmonstone, Miss Metsalopoulos, and Miss Tait. Mr. Alcock's brief noted that Mr. Edmonstone never came in physical contact with the podcasters and didn't waver in his willingness to appear as a witness. The respondents' conduct through their podcasts have caused no disruption with the administration of justice, the brief said. The document underlined that Mr. Edmonstone had no evidence that the podcasters operated the anonymous X account or that they had really hired people to follow him. The document doesn't explain why Mr. Wallace took an interest in Mr. Edmonstone's private life. Mr. Wallace has said on podcasts that he had employers and, quote, I'm indemnified and empowered to go after everybody I want to. The brief noted that instead of seizing records directly from the two men, Mr. Edmonstone could have applied for a Norwich order, a court injunction compelling third parties such as banks or internet providers to disclose private information. During the search of Mr. Wallace's devices, he initially refused to cooperate by saying that he was working on a retainer for an Edmonton area lawyer, Brian Ward. Public records show that Mr. Ward has in the past represented Sam Raish, the owner of one of AHS's suppliers, the MH Care Medical Company, and one of the contractors that was the focus of the probe ordered by Metsalopoulos. Ms. Metsalopoulos' lawyer, Brent Code, said in a letter to Justice Leva last month that his client had been similarly harassed and is considering joining Mr. Edmonstone's court application, quote, against the internet trolls, Messrs. Wallace and Di Fiore. The thing that I'm finding interesting here is there seems to be a denial. Mr. Wallace said here that he's working for Brian Ward, that he's not working for Sam Raish. I believe I read in a previous article. Maybe I'm misremembering that. I'd have to go back and check. But if that is the case, okay, not working for Sam Raish, but working for a lawyer who has in the past represented Sam Raish and maybe represented. No, that's if that is indeed the case, that sounds potentially a little too cozy. That's just sort of sort of caught my eye as I was reading that. Then we move to April 7th, where there was some more developments. And first of all, well, it enters even more into the political sphere. Because according to Angela Amato of CTV, Alberta's official opposition and New Democrat Party leader Naheed Nenshi is once again calling on the United Conservative government to fire Justice Minister Mickey Amery amid the Sam Raish investigation. Last month, RCMP were in Edmonton at the offices of MH Care Medical Corp, a medical supply company headed by Raish that is being investigated in connection with the health procurement controversy. Amery has come under scrutiny before as he and Raish are related through marriage. Quote, we learned last year that he is the best friend and relative of Raish, who allegedly has received maybe hundreds of millions of dollars in improper contracts from the Alberta government, said Nenshi in an interview. The conflict of interest is apparent. A recent independent report found that Raish has a current outstanding balance with the taxpayers amounting to more than $49 million stemming from a partially unfilled agreement on children's pain medication. Quote, there isn't another government in Canada where you would have a justice minister related to the central figure in a scandal defending the guy in the scandal and changing the law to protect him, said Nenshi. That doesn't happen in other places. The law Nenshi is referring to is Bill 14, which was introduced last year. Bill 14 grants immunity to the justice minister, who also serves as the attorney general, from Law Society sanctions. Sam Blackett, press secretary to the premier's office, said Amery was not aware of the investigation. Quote, the amendments contained in the Election Statutes Amendment Act 2025 relating to the office of the Chief Electoral Officer came into force on July 4, 2025, and as the Ministry of Justice has stated multiple times, did not include a retroactivity provision, said Blackett in an emailed statement. Interesting. Also, on the 7th, this here in the Globe and Mail. There was an investigation by Tom Cardoso and Carrie Tait titled A Watchdog Curtailed. And this is very interesting here because I believe, is this also about Bill 14? Let's take a look here. Alberta Justice Minister, actually, hold on here. So let me just check to see if I'm still with you here. Yep. Okay, there we go. We are all still together on fuzzy and all that good stuff. So let's see if we can get back to that article. Where's my email? There we go. Alberta Justice Minister Mickey Amery shortened the amount of time Elections Alberta has to penalize political finance violations, while his friend and relative Sam Raish was under investigation by the regulator, a Globe and Mail investigation has found. In May 2025, Mr. Amery pushed through a series of amendments he said would strengthen public trust in the integrity of the province's elections. Among the changes, Elections Alberta now has a 1 year deadline to pursue sanctions arising from political finance complaints instead of 3. At the time, Elections Alberta was investigating Mr. Mreisch after receiving a complaint that the Edmonton businessman had allegedly made illegal donations to the province's United Conservative Party and New Democratic Party. Mr. Mreisch denies the allegations. So here, kids and cubs, we have a whole other Mreisch potentially related scandal that has nothing to do with Alberta Health Services in the midst of all of this. When the bill became law, it had been more than a year since Elections Alberta had launched its investigation into Mr. Mreisch, raising questions about whether the authorities' window to sanction him had closed. In response to questions from the Globe about the status of the probe, Elections Alberta said it was prohibited by law from commenting on its investigations. It seems that there is a statute of limitations in this case. The legislative changes raises further questions about Mr. Amery's potential conflicts of interest given his relationship with Mr. Mreisch, who is at the center of a health procurement controversy in the province. The government's dealing with Mr. Mreisch and his company, MH Care Medical Corp, have prompted investigations, including by the RCMP. Okay, if there's this thing going on in addition to all of that, no wonder he changed that law that makes it such that ministers of justice who happen to be members of law societies can't be sanctioned by their law societies for everything they do while they are minister of justice. Wow. Mr. Amery told the Globe in April 2025 that his relationship with the businessman did not conflict with his government role. At the time, the existence of Elections Alberta's probe was not publicly known. Mr. Amery's office and elections. Now, you would think that even if it wasn't publicly known, that they would know and therefore not say this because there's some time release thing in the background going tick, 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 tick that's going to come out at some point. It's going num, 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 num on your backside. And here it is coming out going num, 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 num on their backsides. God. Mr. Amery's office and Elections Alberta disagree about how the government's change affected investigations the regulator had under the way at the time. Yeah, I'm going to guess the disagreement is that Elections Alberta is saying, you broke the rules. And Mr. Amery says, no, I didn't. In a statement, Elections Alberta spokesperson Robin Bell said that the law made no distinction between the cases launched before or after the amendments, and that the authority understood the changes to affect all probes, quote, regardless of whether investigations were ongoing when the law came into force. The Justice Minister's office takes a different view. The changes did not include, quote, a relevant retroactivity provision related to any ongoing investigations, said Heather Jenkins, a spokesperson for Mr. Amery, and the government's intent was to avoid impacting those probes. Ms. Jenkins said the minister, quote, was not aware of the investigation into Mr. Mreisch and did not specify when Mr. Amery learned of the probe. She characterized the Globe's questions about whether the legislative change had anything to do with the investigation as a conspiracy theory. Okay, there's a lot going on here. Wow. Okay, the changes did not include a relevant retroactivity position related to any ongoing investigations, but they didn't forbid one either, leaving it open to interpretation that it could. So basically, we have a situation here where the rules were written such that says it doesn't say that this applies retroactively, but it doesn't say that it applies starting this point on specifically, is what I'm figuring from this. And they're saying, well, it doesn't explicitly say that it's retroactive, so how can you say that? Which is would be the defense now. And then when it would be applied, then they would go to court and argue the complete opposite thing. Is it, well, of course it's starting as of now. I mean, why would we do this retroactively? That doesn't make any sense. We just didn't think we need to state as of now and make it obvious. But clearly that's what we intended. Oh my word. Jeez. And then, of course, uh, he wasn't aware of the investigation. Well, when did he become aware of the investigation? Uh, mhm. and then, uh, and then characterize the questions being asked as being no part of some conspiracy theory. Mm, mhm. Okay. The Globe asked Mr. Amory's office to explain his reasoning for the change. In response, Ms. Jenkins said that, quote, the bill in question amended hundreds of provisions in various acts in order to streamline processes and make our democratic system more accountable and transparent, just like Doug Ford's changing those Freedom of Information request laws is because the law hadn't been updated in 40 years. We have all these new methods of communication, and we just had to modernize it. Or just like Flair Airlines took away all mention on their website of having to return you on other airlines in case of situations where they weren't able to get you back in within 48 hours, and said it was because their policy was outdated, even though the regulation hadn't changed. Perhaps. Uh huh. A review conducted by the Globe found that Alberta's new deadline for pursuing sanctions related to election finance violations is among the shortest in the country. Two experts said it is not realistic for an elections agency to wrap up an investigation and pursue penalties within a year of an alleged contravention. So there's a statute of limitations, and very conveniently, the statute of limitations is set at a time that is shorter than the time it would take to actually wrap up an investigation and pursue penalties. So, in other words, break the law as you wish, because there's no way they can get you because they can't work fast enough to actually get you. So there is a law, there are rules. It's just that there's no way to, they're written in such a way that there's absolutely no way to enforce them. So it's like, for those of you who remember how the VCR, remember the days of the VCR, if you had a VCR that was flashing 12 o'clock all the time because you didn't know how to set the time, well, the clock on that thing was as good as broken to you, wasn't it? I mean, you had a clock, but you can't use it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a law that says that you can't engage in election finance violations. You just can't apply it before the statute of limitations kicks in. My, how convenient. For more than a year, Mr. Mraish has found himself at the center of a controversy involving alleged conflicts of interest and political pressure surrounding the purchasing donate decisions. Yeah, purchasing donations. Yeah, that was a Freudian slip. Surrounding the purchasing decisions at the Alberta Health Services. A Globe and Mail investigation published last year detailed Mr. Mraish's connections to senior officials in the Alberta government, including Mr. Amory. The Justice Minister told the Globe in April 2025 that he had been friends with Mr. Mraish for, quote, a very long time, and that the two were, quote, loosely related through marriage. Photos obtained by the Globe show Mr. Amory has attended hockey games with Mr. Mraish in the businessman's private suite. Mr. Mraish has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing in connection to the health procurement controversy. As for the election finance allegations in legal filings, he denied having improperly provided funds to others for the purpose of political donations. Lawyers for Mr. Mraish did not respond to a request for comment for the story. The existence of Elections Alberta's probe into Mr. Mraish was not known publicly until December, when the Globe revealed the authority had asked an Alberta court to find the businessman in contempt for failing to make himself available for an interview. Mm. The authority ultimately withdrew its application after Mr. Mraish sat for an interview, according to his lawyer. By then, Mr. Amory's changes had taken effect. Oh, well, isn't that convenient? Elections Alberta's contempt application filed last July disclosed several details about its investigation. The probe began in April 2024 after the authority received an anonymous complaint concerning straw donations allegedly made in the 2 months prior to the May 2023 provincial election. Straw donations are an illegal practice in which an individual circumvents political donation limits by making his contributions through others. So, in other words, the contribution limit is $2,500, but I want to donate $5,000, so I donate my $2,500, and I get five other people to donate $500, and then I reimburse them. Stuff like that. Ha. By June 2025 elections, Alberta was scrutinizing the political donations made by 60 people. The authorities' court filing shows a Globe and Mail analysis of contribution records found that 59 people whose names matched those on the list donated the then maximum of 4,300 in 2023 because they always donate the maximum, don't they? It's amazing how they can do that. Totaling $253,700. The UCP received 103,200, while the NDP received 150,500 because he's an equal opportunity, it would appear. UCP spokesperson Dave Prisco said the party follows all of Alberta's election finance rules, and Heather Wilson, the Alberta NDP's executive director, said the party is ready to comply with any requests from Elections Alberta. Huh, interesting. UCP, we always follow all the rules. That's why there's so many investigations. Because we always follow all the rules. That's standard practice. Where's the NDP? If you got anything to ask of us, Elections Alberta, we're ready to comply. Huh. Which of the two parties is sleeping well at night? The Elections Authority spent roughly 6 months attempting to interview Mr. Mraish beginning in January 2025, according to its court submissions. Representatives for the authority phoned Mr. Mraish 3 times without response and made 4 separate requests to one of his lawyers for an in-person interview, filings show. Eventually, Elections Alberta exercised its power to compel Mr. Mraish to attend an interview. After he declined to attend one scheduled for July 3rd, one day before Mr. Amory's changes came into effect, the authority asked the court to find him in contempt. Scott Hutchinson, a lawyer for Mr. Mraish, told the Globe last year that his client initially had some reservations with respect to the fairness of the process. Mm, I'm guessing were only stated publicly once Mr. Hutchinson was interviewed for this article, maybe? So, because it seems that if somebody would have reservations with respect to the fairness of the process, that they would have mentioned when they were first invited and then worked to resolve those so that the interview could happen sometime within 6 months before it needing to be compelled legally. One might wonder. After those concerns were addressed, he sat for an interview with the authority, Mr. Hutchinson said. Elections Alberta withdrew its contempt application in September, and it's amazing how those concerns were addressed immediately after the bill passed. I'm wondering, which leads the question, was it Elections Alberta that addressed the concerns, or was it the bill that addressed the concerns? I guess that's why people might be looking into this. The restrictions Mr. Amory imposed on Elections Alberta evolved between when they were first proposed and when they became law. As is the case with most Canadian election authorities, Elections Alberta is able to pursue different types of sanctions, including monetary fines, often called administrative penalties, and prosecutions. When Mr. Amory proposed the new time limits in April 2025, part of a larger package of amendments, he reduced the amount of time the authority had to pursue either option from 3 years after the date of an alleged contravention to 1. Wow. He just woke up one day and said, "Hey, this thing that you do that usually takes you 3 years, now you've got 1 year to get done." "Oh, what do you mean 1 year is just impossible? It doesn't happen, so everybody who does this just will not be able to be charged?" "Oh, wow. Oops. Funny how that happened." Jeez, these people, they're shameless. A week later, Gordon McClure, Elections Alberta's chief electoral officer, wrote to the legislator to express his concerns about several of the changes, including the tweak to the time limits. Oh my God, the chief electoral officer even wrote to them and said, "This is dumb." Quote, but he didn't say this is dumb. He said, quote, "This change will eliminate most substantive financial investigations and remove the related compliance functions performed by the election commissioner," he said. "None of the significant investigations undertaken by the election commissioner in the last 5 years would have been completed if this reduced time period had been in place. Several current investigations will not be completed." There's not a single hello, UCP government. Hello, Minister of Justice. Hi, this is the Chief Electoral Officer. Yes, the body that is supposed to enforce this law that exists and that you apparently want to change. Yeah, well, it seems here, just thought that you might know that the change you want to make, there isn't one single investigation that we've done over the last 5 years that has come in under the time limit that you have just set. So maybe you would like to reconsider your time limit because it's dumb. And they went ahead and they did it anyway. They did it anyway. The chief electoral officer basically said, if you do this, you make this law completely and totally useless. And they did it anyway. Citing Mr. McClure's feedback, Mr. Amory adjusted his proposed legislation on May 14th, splitting up the time limits for administrative penalties. In case where Elections Alberta knew or ought to have known of a potential violation, the authority would have 2 years to issue sanctions. Penalties for investigations arising from complaints, as was the case with the probe into Mr. Mraish, would still need to be issued within a year when the complaint was received. Mr. Amory's proposed time limit for prosecutions 1 year from the date of the offense remained the same. The amended changes became law the next day. No time to talk them over. Mark Mirand, a retired public servant and Elections Canada chief electoral officer from 2007 to 2016, said the timelines established by the Alberta government, quote, are not realistic. Quote, I've never seen an investigation completed within a year of the commission of an offense, he said. It would be extremely difficult to imagine an acceptable rationale for such a short time period. 12 months from the commission of an offense, it's almost unimaginable to think that it could be done. Because if it's 12 months from the commission of the offense, how long does it take to detect that the offense actually took place? Wow. Um, wow. Incredible. A former British Columbia chief elections official also expressed concerns about Mr. Amory's changes. Quote, 1 year seems unusually short, said Keith Archer, who served as the province's chief electoral officer from 2011 to 2018 and is now retired. It raises your eyebrows. My experience in British Columbia, having a 2 year time frame, meant that you always had to continue moving a file forward because generally, if there's more than one file under review at any given time. If BC had been using Alberta's new rules when he was in charge, some investigations would not have been completed, Mr. Archer said. For prosecutions, the only jurisdictions with a similar or shorter timeline than Alberta are Nunavut, the Northwest Territories, the Yukon, and Newfoundland and Labrador. While Manitoba also has a 1 year deadline, its cutoff is tied to when its elections commissioner has reasonable and probable grounds to believe an offense has occurred. Other jurisdictions including New Brunswick and Quebec, and the federal government have prosecution time limits of 4 to 7 years. Why do all these provinces have such a short prosecution time limit? That is inexplicable to me. More than 4 months after Elections Alberta began reaching out to Mr. Mraish, and more than 3 weeks after Mr. Amory's amendments became law, lawyers for the authority sent the businessman a letter with 6 questions, court records show. The letter named 60 individuals whose donations the authority wanted to learn more about. 6 people whose names were listed: Ali Haymor, Hussam Ismail, Kamal Mansour, Kala Al Timimi, Majid Kiki, and Salim Kerbatli, were found in contempt by an Alberta court in July after Elections Alberta said that they had not made themselves available for an interview related to an investigation. A lot of that going on. Court records for their and Mr. Mraish's contempt cases show that both matters concerned a straw donor investigation launched on April 30th, 2024, and shared the same internal Elections Alberta case file number. So we don't know when Mr. Amory was aware, but we know that he could have been aware as early as April 30th, 2024. Because that's when it was initiated. Documents filed in the 6 individuals' cases show that on May 16th, the day after Mr. Amory's changes passed in the legislature, their lawyer, George Samia, wrote to Elections Alberta to point out the new time limit. Quote, given that the events under investigation occurred more than 1 year ago, and considering the legislative intent to enforce a 1 year limitation period, we submit that the window for investigation into this matter has closed and the investigation has been rendered moot, he said. Therefore, our clients will not be submitting to any further questioning or investigations related to this case. Mr. Samia did not respond for a request for comment. I wonder why. The six individuals each agreed to pay the elections authority $1,445 in early January as part of their contempt cases, court's records show. They have received no penalty related to the alleged illegal donations, according to Elections Alberta website. So that was happening all out on the side. Interesting. And then, of course, which brings us big one, the story that indeed came out to coincide. Oh no, sorry, I lied. I lied. I believe I might have lied. There was one more development before we get to the big story, and this is a big one here by Jason Markusoff and Joel Dryden of CBC News. Um, it says, "Warning: this story contains vulgar language." Goody. Oh God, I'm not right. Oh no, just like it uncovers says Dr. Hughes Anthony Fauci, advisor indicted by the Department of Justice. Oh well, that'll probably go as well as Jerome Powell and all the other ones. By the way, they had to back down on the Jerome Powell one. Eh? There was nothing there. There was just nothing there. And there was a senator that was blocking the nomination of the next Fed chair that Trump really wants in there. It's just like, listen, dude, you got to drop this case, or I'm not going to approve your nominee. Seems that they dropped it. Now the nominee's going to go through. All right. So yeah, judging by the audience here, Kid Saucy, that's why I love you. And Elaine, Douglas has the giggles. It seems that y'all want, y'all are okay with and want a little bit of that swearing. So here we go. The former CEO of Alberta Health Services is asking a judge for a legal protection and a contempt finding against two podcasters she alleges have run a campaign of harassment and intimidation against her in response to her ongoing legal action. Last year, Athana Metsalopoulos filed a suit against the AHS and the provincial government for wrongful dismissal, alleging they fired her after she launched an investigation into various contacts with links to government officials. So now that's Sandy Edmondstone and Athana Metsalopoulos. Don't know if Carrie Tait launched her own lawsuit yet. Sandy Edmondstone, a former AHS board member and potential witness in that lawsuit, is also seeking a contempt order against the podcasters David Wallace and James DeFiore. Edmondstone has also sought a contempt ruling against Brian Ward, whom both podcasters have identified as their lawyer. Public documents suggest Ward may have also served as a lawyer for the business of Sam Raish, whose dealings with Alberta Health Services were also subject of Metsalopoulos' investigations before she was fired. In an affidavit filed at the Court of King's Bench in Edmonton on March 27, Metsalopoulos wrote she was seeking relief from the court from a, quote, campaign of slander, harassment, threats, and intimidation that has been targeted against me. The application, which has not been tested in court, will be heard later this month. Metsalopoulos asked the court to hold Wallace and DeFiore in contempt of court, to issue a restraining order, and to force a takedown of the videos, podcasts, and social media posts focused on Metsalopoulos and her family. The brief also asked the court to require Wallace and DeFiore to disclose the contact information of, quote, all the individuals or corporations that back the respondents financially. The campaign, Metsalopoulos' affidavit alleges, began shortly after she filed her wrongful dismissal suit and was led by the two podcasters. In the summer of 2025, Metsalopoulos said it was brought to her attention by a friend that she was the target of an online campaign by Wallace, host of the podcast The Political Dark Arts, and DeFiore, host of the podcast Blackballed with James DeFiore, a show on which the two often appeared together. The affidavit said between May and December 2025, Wallace and DeFiore recorded multiple podcasts about Metsalopoulos. In those podcasts, the brief said the podcasters referred to Metsalopoulos as a, quote, and here we go, charlatan, quote, a criminal, quote, a thief, quote, a dirtbag, a fraudster, a con lady, a bitch, a fucking ripoff artist, an extortionist, an arsonist who poses as a fireman, and a lying sack of shit. I think I need some water. Might need to wash my mouth out with a little bit of soap. Quote, I have been afraid to leave my home for extended periods of time, especially in October and November 2025, Mitsalopoulos wrote in her affidavit. I found it necessary and embarrassing to reach out to my neighbors to warn them that this individual was saying publicly he had spoken to my neighbors and that he was looking for me. She also stated, out of fear for her safety and for her family, she was, quote, connected to local law enforcement who placed, quote, a hazard alert on her home, she shares with her parents. What she wrote, she understood to mean that if anyone called 911 from that address, local law enforcement would prioritize an emergency response. Quote, my elderly parents have been scared for my safety and their own, and the nature of the podcaster's commentary has left me despondent and depressed, sometimes questioning whether to continue my legal action and frequently worried about my safety and that of my family. Quote, Craig Alcock, the lawyer representing the two podcasters in the contempt proceedings, didn't provide a response to a request for comment on Metsalopoulos' application. Metsalopoulos' affidavit claims that an ex account published detailed information about the street addresses of her homes linked that sorry, let's try that again. Metsalopoulos' affidavit claimed that an X account published detailed information about the street address of homes linked to her that were not publicly available. She referenced an affidavit filed in November 2025 by Edmund Stone, the former AHS board member. In a November 2025 brief, Edmund Stone alleged a campaign of harassment and intimidation from DeFiore and Wallace that he said he believed was meant to, quote, retaliate against and otherwise intimidate him from giving testimony in Metsalopoulos' wrongful dismissal case. Edmonston wrote that he became the subject, quote, of repeated false inflammatory comments and personal attacks by Wallace, which were then broadcast or repeated by DeFiore through social media and podcasts. In his affidavit, Edmonston wrote that in June 2025, he was photographed while having lunch at a public restaurant with a woman. Those photos were sent to one of his colleagues, along with a message implying Edmonston was having an affair, and the suggestion was that his wife would receive the messages. Quote, while this allegation is not true, it was unsettling to know that someone was targeting me and attempting to cause me personal strife and emotional distress, Edmondstone wrote in his affidavit. In his November affidavit, Edmondstone wrote that he read a mid-July 2025 report about Globe and Mail reporter Carrie Tait, who had been covering the Metsalopoulos story and who had been similarly photographed while in public. The affidavit states that Edmondstone was able to determine that the phone number that had been associated with the photos taken of him was also associated with the anonymous X account that had posted the photos of Tait. In a March 19th, 2026 brief, lawyers for Edmondstone noted that Wallace has publicly denied his involvement with the anonymous X account and the surveillance. The brief argues that the totality of evidence points to a broader campaign facilitated and carried out by, quote, several individuals, both known and unknown. Last fall, a judge authorized a legal mechanism called an Andron Pillar order to search the homes of DeFiore and Wallace. That is a court order that permits a search without prior warning on a plaintiff's or application's behalf when the judge concludes there is reason to seize evidence and prevent it from being destroyed. In December, solicitors appointed by the court visited the homes of DeFiore and Wallace, searching multiple cell phones and computers. DeFiore and Wallace are urging the judge to set aside Edmondstone's contempt citation. In a court submission, they argue that he is alleging defamation rather than making a case for contempt, and notes that he has not been intimidated to the point he will not testify in the Metsalopoulos' case. Edmondstone has also applied. So in other words, if intimidation there is, because the intimidation has not succeeded in getting the person to want to not testify, therefore there is no intimidation. There is no intimidation unless it's successful. Is that literally what's being argued here? Okay. Edmondstone has also applied to cite lawyer Ward for contempt alongside Wallace and DeFiore when the Andron Pillar order was executed at the homes of both podcasters. Each said that Ward was representing them according to records. Ward told authorities executing the Pillar order that, quote, his firm had retained Wallace and DeFiore on behalf of a third-party client, court's records state, but that client is not identified. It appears that Ward and Park are involved with directing or facilitating the campaign directed at Mr. Edmondstone, the contempt application against Ward alleges. The application argues that intimidating a prospective witness, quote, whether carried out personally or through the direction, instruction, or facilitation of others, amounts to contempt of court. Ward did not respond to a request for comment by publication time. Early last year, Metsalopoulos sued Alberta Health Services and then Health Minister Adriana LaGrange for wrongful dismissal. She alleged in that lawsuit that she was fired for probing too deeply into concerns about AHS contracting and procurement deals. Two matters Metsalopoulos said in the lawsuit she had been scrutinizing as CEO were deals for privately delivered surgery services, in which the amounts that were being paid for each service seemed to be higher than was standard and appear to have been dictated from higher up in the government. and of course children's pain medication, the Tylenol scandal, both of which involved Sam Moraes, the chief executive of MH Care Medical. The health agency said in its statement of defense that AHS has lost confidence in Metsalopoulos' abilities and that her allegations that her termination was due to her investigations is, quote, a diversion from the plaintiff's own inadequacies. Yeah, right. Metsalopoulos' allegations have led to the creation of several investigations, including one the government commissioned by a retired Manitoba judge, a forthcoming Auditor General's report, and an RCMP criminal investigation. Last month, the RCMP said they executed multiple search warrants related to that investigation. Police officers were seen entering and exiting the Edmonton offices of MH Care on multiple days. That same week, an RCMP vehicle was at the office of the accounting firm run by Sam Jabber, who had served as MH Care's chief financial officer. Jabber was also appointed by Premier Daniel Smith to the board of Invest Alberta, but that agency's website now states he is taking a temporary leave of absence. That's where we came to you last time with some updates on this, was around that period there. Asked specifically if Jabber's office was searched in relation to the ongoing investigation into AHS contracts, the RCMP only replied that it had, quote, executed multiple search warrants as part of that probe. A lawyer from Raish has said that the business owner and his company have not engaged in improper contact. Jabber did not reply to a request for comment. So Metsalopoulos having a little lawsuit of her own against the podcasters. No talk in that one article about whether or not her lawsuit will join with Mr. Edmonston's, as was suggested in a previous article. But again, developments, darlings, developments. All right, and now we get to the big one. Let's see here. This was it says updated 34 minutes ago. Oh, interesting. So this one was called First the Scandal, Then the Surveillance. This is by Tuntan Ha, Globe and Mail. Taking a look here, there's something very weird going on with the computer. There we go. That's better, I think. I'm having a little bit of trouble. Okay, this is very strange. Hold on, kids and cubs. I'll try that again. For some reason, only half the article is loading up. Okay, very strange indeed. All right, let's see if I can maybe find it someplace else. There we go. And maybe this link will work better. I'm so sorry, kids and cubs. I was scrolling down the article and everything was a blank until about halfway down the page. Yep. Nope. There's something wrong with the article. Unfortunately, I cannot bring this to you today. It will not load for some reason in its entirety. Very strange. Let me see here if I can get anything else. No. Okay. So here, I will see what I can do to find out more about this. What I can do to actually get the rest of this article, because I have it on my screen here, but for some reason it just starts mid-sentence, and I have to scroll about halfway down the page before I get any text. So something is wrong with it. Oh, wait a minute. Perhaps maybe I can get it for you on my phone. 'cause it won't show up on my computer, right? But maybe it will show up on the phone. Um, all right. So sorry, kids and cubs. This is not clearly the most interesting thing to watch. Me trying to find an article because the tech is not cooperating. Oh, come on. Really? One more time. And if it doesn't work, then I will just bring it to you on another day when the tech does work. Yep, not working, not even on my phone. So it's something at the Globe and Mail's end there with there's a technical glitch with the article. I'm so sorry, kids and cubs. But there would probably be a lot of information that I've already given to you because it's a recap article, but probably with some extra layers. So what I will do is when I'm able to pick it up, I will read it, pick out the extra layers, and then bring you the additional information as an update on that one. Before we go, kids and cubs, a little bit of an update. Yeah, Kit Tim. I'd like to have a chat with James and Dave to see what the heck the rabbit hole they went down. Yeah, it's yeah, it's a sad thing. Um, it's sad. Um, it's sad to lose a friend. Let's just put it that way, kids and cubs. Um, but yeah, um, choices, right? I guess. Or if not choices, the curveballs that life throws our way and ability to cope. But yeah, it's uh, I will be completely honest. I heard one episode sort of going down this path, and it was sort of like, what are they doing? Was my thought, and I just like was riding a bus and ding, this is my stop, and I don't know what to. All of the other stuff and how many episodes they did or how long they were at it. I don't know any of this. Um, but yeah, it's sad to see someone who was doing some really interesting work, especially uh, stuff that was a little counterculture and undercurrent and all that kind of stuff, and take a turn that way. So hopefully, um, if if it's just a matter of being lost, people will find their way backs. Will find their ways back. Their ways back at some point, and I really hope that that's the case. Um, but yeah, it's sad. Yeah, get saucy. I'm sorry. I know it was rough for you because you tried to help someone who refused to help themselves. Yeah, like I said, we're um, yeah. Let's just say that uh, the, there's a expression in French, ça termine en queue de poisson. It just there was a friendship and it just sort of ended like right, which is kind of the saddest at all, the saddest of all. It just it, it's almost like it didn't matter anymore, pretty much. Um, so y- the ties were cut. Let's just put it that way. But it's sad when the thing here that's interesting about all of the players involved, actually, right? Carrie Tait and Nate Pike and James Wallace, James DeFiore and David Wallace, is that when you're doing this type of thing, right? The goal is not to become the news, right? You report the news, you make the news, you go and dig out the news, like Nate does investigative stuff, FOI, Freedom of Information requests, finds information, digs, puts them together, gets facts. You curate or comment on the news like we do, but you don't try to become the news. And Carrie Tait, in the while she was doing her job, became the news because somebody decided to make her a target. But the fact that she had become the news didn't stop her from reporting the news, right? The podcasters involved were all doing their work. Nate Pike wakes up one day and finds out that somebody would actually try to get him fired from his job as a EMS. It's just right. Um, we're not seeking to become the story, right? The only way uh, I'm relatively part of the story is because we have a past connection, or we have connections to people involved in them. We didn't participate in any of this, and we're not part of any of it. But we have connections. We've had all of them on our show, right? Um, for a while, our reputation was tied with theirs, right? We thought that they were uh, well, and maybe at the time it was, and things changed for both of them, right? But at the time, we believed that they were uh, good guests and good people to collaborate who were doing some interesting work that had, some public value and public interest. But that's the thing when you do something like when you do something like this, if a guest you've had on your show, and if you've gotten along well and had a relationship, something happens later, right? Some of that gets on you. It just comes with the territory. Same thing for me, right? If ever I was found one day, uh, you know, uh, DWI, DUI, um, right? I'm a guest monthly on Laura Babcock's show. It was, oh my God, that gets out, goes on the news, and I'm just gonna have Douglas again. Oh, I got that drunk, right? Or it follows you like this, and it splashes on everyone with whom you've been associated with. That just happens. It happens. Um, all right. Before we go, I'm going to go over time here, but a little bit. There's been some developments on the file on Iran over the course of the weekend, and just wanted to bring you a couple of things with regards to that, because I'm sure that'll probably come back to be on our plate somehow in some way. It seems that the whole thing here, from the United States perspective, seems to be moving from ultimatums, do it now, or else I'm going to blow everything up, to I'm in no rush. Donald Trump might be tired of tacoing himself here. There's been an extension of the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire for another 3 weeks because it was supposed to expire on Sunday, though the fighting hasn't really stopped, and people are wondering whether or not that they'll get to the end of that 3 weeks. There were a few details about the conditions of the ceasefire on the weekend. I'm not sure if that's still the case now. I haven't heard an update. And Hezbollah is not participating in those talks. There was the possibility that there could be more Iran and US talks over the course of the weekend, because the Iranian foreign minister was expected to go to Islamabad on Friday night. He was also scheduled to visit Muscat in Oman and Moscow in Russia for discussions on bilateral matters. The US was intending to send Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. There was a previously scheduled visit by JD Vance that didn't take place earlier that week. Witkoff and Kushner were supposed to go on Saturday, but even though there was nothing confirmed per se, um, in terms of some dates for which the Iranians and the U.S. would be at a table together. There had been contacts between the Iranian and Pakistani representatives. The Pakistanis were mediating this. There was nothing confirmed that Iranian and United States envoys would talk to each other, even if they had both did go, because Iran said that their rep would have no direct negotiations with the United States. That all all discussions would happen through intermediaries, and the White House, with the White House saying at the time through Caroline Levitt, that the meeting was definitely on for Saturday. That statement of a confidently stated fact was not a fact. Did not age well, by the way. Uh, we found out the next day that the meeting was canceled because Trump will learn that the Iranian foreign minister had actually left Pakistan before Witkoff and Kushner could even board a plane to get there. Ooh, yeah, nothing says that they're eager to talk. Like the Iranian foreign minister going and leaving before you even had a chance to take off. Quote, I'll deal with whoever we have to, but there's no reason to wait 2 days, have people traveling 16 to 17 hours. When they want, they can call me, said Trump, sounding a little bit like Mark Carney. Well, the United States walked away from the trade table. When they're ready to talk, they can call. We'll be here. Trump says Tehran's latest peace proposal offered a lot, but was not good enough. Um, Again, Trump said, remember, Trump is not a source. On Sunday morning, it became public that the minister was intending an unplanned return to Islamabad on his way back from Oman, leaving some tags wagging as to whether or not there might be another opportunity. At this point, I'm thinking, you're just trolling them. But it seems that Trump was pretty serious on that. They could just call me. There was no move from the United States biting at that whatsoever. Iran's president told Pakistan's prime minister that his country would not enter, quote, forced negotiations under pressure, threats, or blockade. He also had calls with the Qatari foreign minister as well as the Turkish, Saudi, and Egyptian officials. The only thing on which both sides seem to be able to agree is having Pakistan as a mediator. According to the CBC, the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said the meeting with Iranian foreign minister was cordial and that they'll continue to talk about strengthening their bilateral relationship, whereas the Iranian foreign minister Abbas Araghchi said that the visit was fruitful and that he values Pakistan's role. He then added that they have yet to see whether or not the United States is serious about diplomacy. Sticking the knife and just giving it a little twist there. Keeping in mind that Trump is not a source, this is what he had to say about the status of acquiring Iran's 60% enriched uranium. Quote, look, that whole deal is not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They offered a lot, but not enough. Issuing a 90, so that's sort of what was going on over the course of the weekend there. With regard to oil and stuff of the like, it seems that the United States has issued a 90-day waiver to the Jones Act, which extends the original 60-day waiver that allows more oil supplies to reach the U.S. ports by opening up domestic shipping routes to foreign-flagged vessels, because according to the Jones Act, only American-flagged vessels can enter the ports. So that would make it easier for ships to ship fuels from U.S. refineries to U.S. customers, but the effect on gasoline prices itself for consumers will be minimal. It's been estimated to be as little as a fraction of a penny. There's also a little bit of retaliation because somebody got his fifis hurt. It appears that there's a leaked document that indicates that the United States may be reconsidering its position with regard to Argentina and the UK's battle on who owns the Falkland Islands. Because yes, that's what we need right now. Argentinian populists are often bring up the issue of the Falkland Islands when they're out there courting votes, and so of course Milei is fully for this. The leader of Argentina. This, of course, is to serve as a punishment to the United Kingdom for not supporting his folly in Iran. In addition, Trump is trying to push for the suspension of Spain as a NATO member, but Pedro Sanchez, the leader there, says, quote, I'm absolutely not worried. We do not work with emails. We work with official documents and positions taken, in this case, by the government of the United States. The position of the government of Spain is clear: absolute collaboration with the allies, but always within the framework of international legality. By the way, NATO doesn't even have a suspension mechanism, so I'm not sure how that would happen. And with regard to the Falkland Islands, the UK Foreign Secretary is unquoted as stating the Falkland Islands are British, sovereignty rests with the UK, self determination rests with the islanders. Uh, it would seem that there has been a little bit of a development. I would have to find out more about it, but there may have been um, some unblocking. Somewhere along the way, Trump said that the ceasefire is now indefinite. I'm sure the Iranians laughed a lot on that one. It went from "I'm going to destroy everything" to "the ceasefire is indefinite." Iran still doesn't appear to know what the hell's going on from the U.S. side. Iran is still upset that the United States is blocking Iranian ports despite the ceasefire. Iran's president said, quote, "Bad faith, siege, and threats are the main obstacles to genuine negotiation," referring to the stalled peace talks as hypocritical and empty. Um, it would seem that, uh, at least I heard yesterday, that there could be some thawing, that maybe the United States blocking everything from coming into Iran or going out uh, could be reaching a point that it's causing some pain. According to Al Jazeera here, uh, it says, let's see here. Actually, you know what? This is a live update thing, which will make the thing hard to find from Al Jazeera. But it seems that there's a discussion of some peace plan here coming about. Uh, let's see, maybe if the Washington Post will be able to give that information, because I had heard it late last night just before going to bed, that there was maybe some movement here. This is according to the Washington Post, Gary Shee and Sammy Westphal. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met Monday with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who pledged to do everything possible to bring peace to the Middle East, amid stalled talks between Iran and the United States. Araghchi arrived in St. Petersburg early Monday after stops in Oman, like Russia, a key diplomatic mediator for Iran, and Pakistan, which has been hosting on-again, off-again peace talks. Hopes of a deal dimmed over the weekend after President Donald Trump at the last minute called off plans to send to Pakistan envoy Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. Iran continues to block traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, and the United States continues its blockade against the nation with severe consequences for the global economy and no clear end in sight. Russian state media did not report what kind of support, if any, Putin pledged to Araghchi behind closed doors. Iran and Russia have long been close strategic partners, and Moscow has so far extended limited support to Iran in its war with the United States and Israel, providing Tehran with targeting information for U.S. forces, including warships and aircraft in the Middle East, Western officials have said. Quote, "We very much hope that relying on this courage and the aspiration for independence, the Iranian people, under the leadership of the new leader, will get through this difficult period of trials and that peace will come," Putin told Araghchi, according to the state news agency RIA Novosti. "For our part, we will do everything that serves your interests and the interests of all the peoples of the region in order to ensure that this peace is achieved as soon as possible." While the fragile ceasefire this month between the United States and Iran has largely held, the sides, which have made little apparent headway in their sporadic peace talks, continue to use the Strait of Hormuz for leverage, severely restricting the vital passageway for oil and gas shipments. Tehran has tightened its grip on the choke point with gunboats and reportedly at least 20 mines, while Trump has ordered a U.S. Navy blockade of Iran-linked ships. U.S. Central Command has said it has redirected at least 37 vessels since it began its blockade. A prolonged blockade could set energy prices and fertilizer shortages spiking further and raise the political peril for Republicans in November's midterm elections. After markets opened Monday, the price of Brent crude oil touched $108 a barrel, even though reports had emerged beforehand of Iran submitting its new ceasefire proposal. Peace talks have also faltered in Lebanon, where Hezbollah and Israel, allies of Iran and the United States respectively, continue to fire at each other despite efforts by Washington to broker a deal. Israel renewed airstrikes on Monday in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley after seeing casualties among its ground forces, which are occupying a swath of southern Lebanon. The death toll in Lebanon surpassed 2,500 over the weekend. Continued fighting between Israel and Hezbollah could strain the U.S.-Iran talks. Lebanon remains a major sticking point along with Hormuz in the fate of Iran's nuclear program. Hours after Washington and Tehran reached an initial ceasefire agreement on April 7th, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu launched massive airstrikes targeting more than 100 sites in Beirut, the Bekaa Valley, and southern Lebanon, infuriating Iran just days before Vice President J.D. Vance was set to meet with Iranian officials. A second round of talks involving Vance was set for April 21st, but Trump announced at the last minute that it would be postponed indefinitely. Quote, too much time wasted on traveling, too much work, Trump wrote Thursday Saturday on Truth Social. Besides which, there's tremendous infighting and confusion within their leadership. Nobody knows who's in charge, including them. Also, we have all the cards, they have none. If they want to talk, all they have to do is call. In the meantime, both Iran and the US have seized vessels in the region between April 21st and 24th. 5 or fewer tankers or dry bulk vessels per day transited the Strait of Hormuz, according to maritime intelligence firm Kepler. The longer the vital oil passageway is constrained, analysts and traders have warned the larger the oil supply shocks. Some countries have already seen oil price spikes and crippling fuel shortages. Uh, That doesn't say too much about the actual proposal, however, Washington Post. But yes, it would seem here that there is a proposal being discussed, and that Iran might be interested in doing a blockade removal for blockade removal, for all intents and purposes. So we'll see what will come out of that. The terms hadn't been public last night, but it said that a proposal to end the war had begun emerging Monday. According to Associated Press, they report that Iran is offering to reopen Strait of Hormuz in exchange for an end to the U.S. naval blockade and set aside nuclear negotiations until the war ends. Okay, that might be a thing. I'm not sure how people would react to that. I can understand why Iran would want to talk about the nuclear stuff after. Going to that AP article they were talking about here, Sami Magdi and John Gambrell and Elena Bekatoros says that Iran offered to end its chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz if the U.S. lifts its blockade on the country and ends the war in a proposal that would postpone discussions on the Islamic Republic's nuclear program. Two regional officials said on Monday. The U.S. President Donald Trump seems unlikely to accept the offer, which was passed to the Americans by Pakistan, and would leave unresolved the disagreements that led the U.S. and Israel war on February 28th. And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio appeared to rule out any deal that excludes Iran's nuclear program. Quote, we can't let them get away with it, Rubio said in a Fox News interview on Monday. We have to ensure that any deal that is made, any agreement that is made, is one that definitely prevents them from sprinting towards a nuclear weapon at any point. There was another quote over the course of the weekend where Donald Trump was seeming to indicate that the Iranians were about to make a deal to hand over all of that, what Trump calls nuclear dust or uranium dust. And the Iranian officials immediately countered that, saying that no, there's no such plan whatsoever. It seems here that one of the reasons for which Iran might be looking to end this is because it is still pumping its oil and gas, but has no way to really get it out. And it seems that we're about to enter a situation where Tehran would have to shut off production because it has nowhere left, either on land or on other ships, to store the oil. Some people are suggesting that the United States are suggesting that they have about 5 days of capacity left. Other agencies are suggesting that they have maybe about close to 20, but they start to curtailing production way before. It's not like they get to 20 at full speed ahead and and then shut production down. They start to curtailing it, and the production is very hard to bring back online. So Iran might be looking to end this part of this war before it gets to the point where it doesn't know what to do with its oil. The Straits closure, meanwhile, has put pressure on Trump and oil and gasoline as oil and gasoline prices have skyrocketed ahead of crucial midterm elections and has pressured its Gulf allies, which use the waterway to export their oil and gas. Frustration among many nations is mounting with renewed demands Monday to end the blockade that has had far-reaching effects through the world economy, including raising the price of fertilizer, food, and other basic goods. The Iranian proposal would push negotiations on the country's nuclear program to a later date. Trump said one of the major reasons he went to war was to deny Iran the ability to develop nuclear weapons. The two officials with knowledge of the proposal spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss the closed-door negotiations between Iranian and Pakistani officials this weekend. Iran's proposal was first reported by the Axios News outlet. The offer emerged as Iran's foreign minister visited Russia, which has long been a key backer of Tehran. It's unclear what, if any, assistance Moscow might offer. Iran's ability to choke off traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow mouth of the Persian Gulf, has proved one of its biggest strategic advantages in a war that has often boiled down to which side can take more pain. Oil prices have risen steadily since the war began, and tankers full of crude became stranded in the Gulf, unable to safely pass through the strait to reach global distribution points. On Monday, the spot price of Brent crude, the international standard, closed above $108 per barrel, about 50% higher than when the war began. Now, with this proposal, still higher, $111, up about 2.76%. That's Brent, and crude up about 3.7%, just under $100 a barrel. Like literally, just under. Looking at other things here for us. Let's see other things that are affected greatly by what is going on. Let's see. Urea, that's fertilizer, that's down 1.5%. Let's see, what else do we have here? Sulfur was the other one I was looking for. Yeah, sulfur down 2.46%. So that's better. And how about aluminium? Because that's the other big one that's available in that area. Do I see it here on the list? And aluminium also down. So the energy things up, but those things down. And let's see if there's been any been any reaction on the markets with regard to that. According to the old Googler here, the Dow started a little bit above, but is just slightly underwater, only 12 points. Nothing major here in Canada. Here, if we're looking at the TSX, how are we doing after a couple of down days? We have the situation quite down, 212 points on the TSX today. So the Canadian stock market, which has been outperforming the US one the last little bit, especially last year, not of gold down a whole $109 today as well. So maybe people assuming that removing a little bit of risk premium going on as they feel that things might be reaching a more hope for some type of resolution, because I think if it comes to a point where Iran has to stop producing oil in order to keep the blockade going, that might not prove to be strategic in the long term for Iran. So we might have hit a point where necessity makes it such that there will be some type of resolution to at least this part of the war. Then we'll see what happens next, I guess. All right, kids and cubs. That's what I got for you. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, especially when you share a little bit of yourself and say why it is that our content resonates with you. That is advertising we cannot buy And we thank you so much for taking the time to do so. Kids and Cubs, if you would like to help us, we would really appreciate your help. One of the ways you can do that is scanning this QR code that is going to appear here. And come on, you can do it. Really, you can. There you go. It just needed some coaxing. Needed me to boost its confidence. If you can scan that QR code, that will bring you to our YouTube page where you can click on like, share, and subscribe because that helps us with the algorithm, particularly the subscribe button. And if you have the opportunity, if you are watching us not live, but using your cell phone, please offer us some hype points if you are watching this within 7 days of the original broadcast, because hype points help promote content from a smaller audience to channels like ours. So thank you for all of your help, and I've been noticing the hype points coming in on some podcasts. So thank you for those of you who are doing that. I am very very grateful. If you want to help us in other ways, say financially, Kids and Cubs, I'm going to put this QR code up. Hopefully, Mr. Grizzly has fixed it. We will give it a little test because why not, right? We're an interactive show. Let's see what happens. Yes, it is working. Yay! Okay, somewhere to scan the code. That's me. So yes, it is a reset. Now our QR code actually does bring you to our coffee page where you can find the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund. Yay! Where you can contribute to fight the scourge that is dry beaver by putting a little hot chocolate in my beaver cup here, because you are what you drink. So yeah, how you doing? So, yeah, if you would like to support us because you believe that what we do has a value and our content resonates with you, we would really, really appreciate it, especially now that we're independent and we are incurring some additional costs this year that we didn't have last year in order to bring this to you. Uh, it is thanks to your contributions that we are able to keep going and be in our sixth season. Yay! So, thank you for that, Kids and Cubs. Everything that you send is very, very, very appreciated. And remember that a moist beaver is a happy beaver. Mm. Kids and Cubs, if you would like to support us in other ways, you can do it through YouTube. We have memberships and we have super chat and stickers where you can donate that way. We get about 70% of your donation. We get 95 to 97% when you donate via the Eager Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund. Just scan that QR code there, right there. I'll wait. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. And also, if you're doing the Buy Canadian thing, you can look at our email address in that case, which is True North Eager Beaver at gmail.com. And there, Kids and Cubs, you can send us an email transfer from your bank to our bank. Boom. It keeps your transaction 100% Canadian, and there are no service fees. We get 100% of your donation. And Kids and Cubs, if you're not able to donate financially, please do not worry because that same email address, truenortheagerbeaver at gmail.com, is where you can send contributions of another kind, let's say in a word, because you love what it is that we do, and you want to tell us that. Or I do not know why I appear to have frozen here, Kids and Cubs. Okay. Not sure what's going on. Are we here? Oh, there you are. Okay. I don't know what happened. I completely froze for a second here. And I forgot where I was in my. Oh, yes. So, yes, that email address there will bring you there. You can let us know what you think about the show, good, bad, ugly. You can send us your suggestions for who you would like to appear as a guest on the show. You can also use it to send us your good news because we need someone. We're doom scrolling, and of course, kids and cubs. Any questions you have about the show or about politics that you would like us to answer, please send them there. I will put back the uh, QR code for the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund there, and say to you, kids and cubs, because democracy is something that you do. If you are in British Columbia, look for your ballots coming in around May 9th, kids and cubs. That's when you will have the opportunity, if you are a member of the BC Conservative Party, to vote for your next leader. Please do that. Very important. Remember, kids and cubs, tax filing day is coming too, so make sure that you get your taxes filed in time so that you avoid any penalties and all of that good stuff. And that's what I've got for you today. I'm sure that there's more. It's just escaping me, and I still have to find a way to bring that petition that somebody brought to my attention back into the show. Also, if you're in Alberta, I don't have a link to it, but I think there's a gentleman there named Corb Lund who has a petition circulating to try to protect the water from coal mining. And if you're out in Alberta, please check that out and have an opportunity to sign that if you have the opportunity. I will try to find more information on that as well. Uh, so that's all I've got for you, kids and cubs. Remember, if you want to reach us on our socials, at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Shitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, our original home. We have the Damn Fam Instagram. We have the Substack called Beaver Bites. We have the Damn Fam Discord. Lots of ways to reach us. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, we have the comment section right down here below. We read everything that you write, even though we're not able to respond to everything. And everything you send us, either contribution, word, financial, everything goes back into the show to make it better for you. So thank you for all that you do, kids and cubs. Some words of wisdom today, some that I'm going to apply to myself here as I'm getting ready to go play my tennis. Go hard. Go hard, man. Just go for it today. Whatever it is, just go for it. Put a little extra oomph in it. Go for it. That's my word of advice. It could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now at the count of three, kids and cubs, may I please have a little bit of audience participation in the form of you all saying, as one, all together, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock at the count of three. Of course. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow. All is one. Wow. You put a little volume in there. Whew. Felt the sound, the wall of sound come right at me since you did that so well and so assertively. Here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right. Hopefully, I see you now. Hopefully, you heard me what I was saying before. But just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of Canadians who make us proud before we go here, kids and cubs. Little bit of love to Leila Fernandez, tennis player, who has advanced to the quarterfinals of the Madrid Open, where she will face, it was probably decided by now, it was either Sabalenka, number one in the world, or Naomi Osaka, multiple Grand Slam winner. But Leila Fernandez has been on quite a terror lately at the previous tournament. She was playing number two in the world, Elena Rybak, and capable of defeating her. So, which would have been a great victory, but she came into this tournament and has been tearing the draw so far, building on the momentum. Unfortunately, played this morning against Mira Andreeva and lost 7-6 in the first set. It went to a tiebreaker and 6-3 in the second. Andreeva, who's a top 10 player, Fernandez, who's ranked in the 20s. But this will certainly give her a big boost as she's getting ready for the Grand Slam, the French Open here. So a big win for her. Also, congratulations to Canada's number one male doubles player, Cleve Harper, who won his doubles tournament with his partner David Stevenson, who from the UK, and with that re-enters the world top 100 there. Some great success from our tennis players over the course of the last little bit. And that's what we got for you as well. Oh, yeah. And the other thing for those who were following, because we were talking about water polo last week, Team Canada did defeat Team UK in the quarterfinals at the World Cup in Division Two, but lost to Russia in the semis. They did win a Division Two bronze against Croatia, but unfortunately, only the top two teams moved up to Division One, and Team Canada ended up in a third place there. So, but congratulations to our women's water polo team for representing us so well, and just missing it. Hopefully, there might be more opportunities to qualify coming soon. All right, kids and cups, that's all I got for you. I'm going to say amour et bisous and wish me luck on the tennis courts. I am out of here. Bye bye.